Hi, I'm Wright Culpepper, Executive Director of FaithWorks, and we're very pleased that you're here today to be a part of this volunteer training program for The Well, our new hospitality and resource ministry with the homeless. The reason we're calling it The Well is because historically, the well is where the community gathered to draw water necessary for life. And it is there where they gathered for conversation, to solve problems, and to build community. And that's exactly what we want to have happen here, where people will meet, have conversations, solve problems, and build community. You'll be a big part of that, and we're grateful for your interest and your willingness to do that. You've been given a packet of information that talks a little bit about the various programs of FaithWorks. Over the course of a year, FaithWorks will, through its staff and through its volunteers, have an impact on some 20,000 people here in Glynn County, either through the pastoral care program at the hospital or through Sparrow's Nest or through Open Doors, which works with those who are reentering the community after prison, or the Cancer Network of Hope, which helps people with cancer, and other various ministries. We encourage you to look through that packet later on and get an idea of what it is that FaithWorks is all about. But there's a couple of things that I want to point out to you. There on the first page, you'll see that there's some underlying principles of who we are. First of all, we believe that we're all God's children. If you look at the Gospel of Luke, you'll see that they trace the genealogy of Jesus all the way back to Abraham, back to Adam and Eve. And so we all come from one source. God has created us all. We're all his children. We're not all good children, but we are all his children. And he loves us as his children. We believe that that guides us in everything that we do, that we treat one another with mutual respect as if we're all children of God, and if children, then we're heirs of God and all that God has in store for us. And there are those that have some very, very difficult steps in their journey. There's some that are elderly, they're chronically ill, they're the homeless, they're the widows, they're the children that may be from broken homes and so forth. And we believe that we're all called to try to reach out to meet those who are perhaps in a very tight spot, difficult situation in life. We're not trying to be something that takes anyone away from their church or from their religious organization. We all worship differently. We all believe differently. We all focus in on certain things that are important to us. And so we gravitate to certain churches or certain denominations or certain religious groups. But all of those groups call us to reach out and to care for those around us that might need our help, our love, to be extensions of God's mercy and grace. And really, that's what it's all about. We are extensions of the grace that God has extended to us. And when we do that, then real possibilities take place in the transformation of lives and transformation of the community. So you're a part of a very, very important work. I want to share with you about how we got to this point. Why are we doing the well? Why are we offering this day ministry to the homeless? We've been working with homeless for quite some time through FaithWorks. Started way back with our work at the hospital, where as we sat and listened to the stories of patients and we encountered homeless, we began to be aware of what their needs were and aware that there were many gaps in our community that were not meeting the needs of the homeless. It's a very scary place to be when you are homeless. We also began to be aware that the hospital was having difficulty discharging homeless, because the hospital can't discharge someone to the street. They have to discharge someone to an address. And really about the only address for a homeless person was Salvation Army. And no problem with Salvation Army, but you have to have a police clearance. You have to be able to get there at a certain time. Have to be relatively healthy. And so a lot of times those who are being discharged from the emergency room or from the hospital even were not really strong enough to be able to be accepted into Salvation Army. So we were fortunate to be able to receive a grant from a local organization, and we were able to purchase a house a number of years ago and set it up as a place where the hospital could discharge their homeless patients to us. And we provided a couple of nights of stay. We provided case management. And we've been successful in helping some get to rehab, others to get to detox, others to get back to family. We've helped some move along out of our community, and others have gone back to the streets. In fact, there are a few people that when the cab pulled up from the hospital, they didn't even come knock on the door. They just went on back to where they were from. But they could have come in if they wanted to. But through that experience, we began to hear more and more of the stories of our homeless, and more aware that we needed to do more. And then back in the early part of 2013, FaithWorks conducted the homeless count that is held throughout the state of Georgia every 2 years. And we had a group that went into abandoned buildings. We went to Salvation Army. We went out by the exits on the interstate. We went out to the woods. We actually sat down and interviewed over 190 homeless that we talked to face to face. And we know that we missed a lot, because sometimes we'd be with a group and we talked to one or two, and by the time we were finished with them, the other group had moved on. So we know that there are a lot of homeless in our community. And we asked them the things that they need, and there were really three things that kind of came to the top. One was better housing. Obviously, they would love to have a safe place to live, a clean place to live, and that may be something that we want to address sometime down the line. But there were two things other things that were on the top of the list, and one was showers, and one was laundry. They want to have dignity. They want to be clean. They want to wear clean clothes, just like you and I do. And those things are necessary to be able to find a job, to be able to go to an interview, and so forth. And there just are no services for them to be able to have that simple thing that we might take for granted, a simple shower. And so we've been looking for really over a year for a place where we might be able to provide those services. And no place really stood out to us. There was certain needs that we felt we had. As we did our research of other programs, we knew we needed to have some indoor space and some outdoor space. We knew we needed to have adequate space. And so some of the things that were in maybe the price range we could afford didn't have adequate space. And sometimes the things that had adequate space were just cost prohibitive. And then November of last year, the Greyhound bus business moved out of Brunswick and have left that building empty. And we saw that as a possible site because it's a good location, safe for volunteers to be able to come to, easy to find. And it had indoor space, it had outdoor space. And we were able to negotiate with Greyhound and finally agree on a price that we felt like was satisfactory. And so we have purchased the building. We've begun demolition of that. And probably in the next few days, we'll begin to see some construction going on down there. Don't think it'll take too terribly long. There's not an awful lot of work to do, but some electrical and plumbing, heating and air work that's got to be done. So that's in process. And we're very pleased with that. We were concerned about three things when we signed the contract, where we had our due diligence period. One, we were concerned about zoning. We were wondering if it would work out there. And we got a letter from the city saying that, in fact, the services that we're offering, it is zoned properly for that. We were worried about the possibility of there being asbestos in the building, and we spent a good bit of money for an environmental impact study on the building. No asbestos and no petroleum problems in the soil, so we can plant trees and fruit trees and whatnot, and do some of the things that we wanted to do outside to make that a habitable place for people to be. And then we were worried about the money, and we're always worried about the money, but we were worried about whether or not we'd be able to raise money quick enough. And this is a very generous community, and we were able to very quickly be able to raise the money that we needed to purchase and to do this initial renovation work. And obviously, we'll continue to need the support of the community to operate this ministry. We're hoping to underwrite it some with our textile ministry, which is described in that booklet. But we'll need the help of individuals and foundations and churches as we move along as well. So keep that in your prayers as well. But right now, as of today, we're in good shape and ready to go with everything. The obstacles that we feared were not there, and we hope that you might stop by and check in, stick your head in, and see the work that's going on. We are having every Saturday morning volunteer opportunities for people to come down and help us with the building and help us with the ground. So if you have a Saturday morning you'd like to give an hour or two, just come on down anytime about 9 o'clock and stay as long as you can. And we are excited about this and glad you're going to be a part of it. And I'm real pleased now to turn this over to Annette Studmeyer, who is going to be the manager of the well. She's going to share with you expectations of the volunteers. She's got a couple of videos that she's going to show you about some other programs and some other ideas, just to try to help you know exactly what it is that we're trying to do. So hope to see you soon. And if you have any kind of question, feel free to give me a call or send me an email at wright@faithworksministry.org, and be glad to get back with you just as quick as I can. So bless you. Thank you for being here. Look forward to seeing you soon.